I think what you have to do is throw off the ritual, right? Like find out what it is about the ritual that has to be perfect and don't allow him to have that. You know, if he's like, don't be afraid, be like, I'm so afraid.
I'm so afraid.
I'm freaking out. Just shit yourself right there.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you would like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
So, Jane, a few weeks ago, it was Halloween. We had our week of Halloween. We did two scary films, Carrie and then Halloween Part 2. You might have thought we were out of the terror zone and we were in a safe place where we're not going to get razor blades in our mouth and have to go to the hospital. But we're not. Because today we're going to throw on our trench coats. We're going to channel our psychic vibes. And we're going to head straight back, Gene, because Omar, our great listener, he's asked us to tackle a film that says, why just have a normal serial killer when you can have one that won't die? One with superpowers. So today, we're going to jump back to a film that has spirit jumping, creepy rituals, a church leaders who are concerned about controversies. Shocking. So we're going to grab our holy water. We're going to go back to 1990 and the crazy streets of LA for Omar to review the 1990, I think it's called horror or psychological thriller, The First Power.
Now, Omar, coming to us from across the pond with your very specific tastes in film, I want to point out that on this evening, while we are recording right now, Big D's beloved New York Yankees are playing in the World Series, and his devotion to this podcast and to your commission has brought him here and talk about scary things. This game is on a knife's edge. I can't believe you're here with us, Big D.
Had to. It's almost like this is a safe place for me. It's like the trust tree. They were up 5-0. I'm feeling good. I told you, give me a little while. We can record. Then I turn around. It is 5-5, and I had to get out of there. So it's on in the background here, but I'm focused on you. But this is a safe place, so I'm not going to stress. And I can already feel my heart rate lowering.
Well, on this podcast, I hope we can exercise some demons and maybe bring some good juju to the game, extend this series a little bit longer.
And what's great is it's funny that Omar's here because Vanessa just came back from London with a couple of her friends, and I had a treasure trove, Gene, of British candy. And there's a whole bunch of them I like. Some I don't know what they are. There's some kind of a candy bar. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me bring up the picture so I have them.
To people who haven't been to the UK, you have to understand that, like, you go to any train station, you're waiting on a train, there's just vending machines full of candies that you've never seen before. Lots of varieties of chocolate. Some better than others. But yeah, I have a coworker, Monica, who always brings me back stuff. And some of it's great. Some of it, not so much.
The one I like so far is Wispa Duo. Is a Cadbury. It's pretty good. Then there is a big share bag of Cadbury's buttons. Those are yummy. Fruit Stella Dew Sticks. A couple of packs of bubble gum, which is Babu, a little strawberry flavor from Chups. I think they make those lollipops. And then we had some vanilla buttons, Choop Choops. And then we had some sour bites, these sour apple chewy bonbons. I'd never had these before, but they're suitable for vegans. So we're slowly going through the bag of candy, and I feel connected to Omar today because of that.
Is that all you're going to be giving out on Halloween?
No, they're not getting any of this. Are you kidding me? He didn't travel to London to bring it back for the kids in the neighborhood who are probably going to just throw it on the ground. No.
What the hell's a chup chup?
I don't want to chup chup. This is gross.
Anyway, Omar wrote in and said, "Greetings, Shat Crew. I'm so excited that you get to review one of my favorite horror movies growing up, The First Power. This is a funny one, if I'm completely honest. I remember it was 1990. My kid brother and I were on a trip to the States with my parents, who were looking to get rid of us for a couple hours by dumping us at a movie theater. Being from the UK, I don't think they knew much or cared much about the concept of an R-rated film, and they trusted their 15-year-old son to make good decisions on where to take his 12-year-old brother for a day at the movies. You guys know I love Manhunter. Other movies of the era that I was into included The Exorcist 3, Silence of the Lambs, the sequel to Manhunter, and Jack's Back, where James Spader manhunts Jack the Ripper in 80s LA. So when I came across a TV spot for a movie called The First Power, now in theaters, where Lou Diamond Phillips is manhunting a demonically possessed serial killer in 1990s LA, it pretty much sold itself. I gotta tell you, 15-year-old me was very happy. I was terrified, but in a good way. My brother couldn't sleep for a week, so that was funny. Lou Diamond Phillips was badass, and the villain, to my underdeveloped teenage brain, was like a satanically juiced Hannibal Lecter. Chef's kiss. Now, 48-year-old me, rewatching this on Tubi after a couple of beers, felt differently. Our hero is a massive douche who unkindly mocks his admittedly unstable leading lady, celebrates the execution of the serial killer that he's been hunting with champagne and a series of disturbing pelvic thrusts, and leaves his partner to die in the street after being trampled by a runaway horse. The fact that the partner is the guy who played Bubba in Forrest Gump and Baby O in Con Air makes it all the more unforgivable. The writing is absurd, the acting is crap, and the villain played by that guy, Jeff Kober, is no match for the sheer bastardy of Lou Diamond Phillips' character. I mean, for the love of God, he left Baby O dying in the street, damn it. So yeah, this needs to get shat on. This is not a genre masterpiece like Blue Thunder, which you lads did dirty, by the way. This probably tops out at a 4 wiper, most likely 4.5. If you think it hits the 3s, I cannot wait to hear why. I'll leave it to you, chaps. Justice for Baby O. Cheers, Omar.
I would love to hear what somebody from Britain thinks about our police enforcement, because there is a reckless disregard for firearms, for public safety. He is a bad cop doing a terrible job. And I know in London, they don't even carry guns. They got those little clubs. So what would the London version of this be? It would be a lot less deaths.
It would just be a Bobby in a checkered vest and a little hat coming to scorn you.
They'd be like, stop clubbing him. No, stop. Oh, you're possessed. Stop clubbing me. Stop clubbing me.
I think we'll get to it a little bit later, but that actually might have been more effective than guns.
Yeah, you could club the demonic possession out of you.
Well, The First Power is a 1990 neo-noir horror movie written and directed by Robert Resnikoff and starring Lou Diamond Phillips, Tracy Griffith, Jeff Kober, and Kelty Williamson. The film received mostly negative reviews, but was a financial success. So Big D, we've heard about Omar's history, being 15 years old, taking his 12-year-old brother to this movie. How about you? What are your memories of The First Power?
So I do not remember this film commercial, anyone talking about it. I'd never heard of it until Omar wrote in. And I remember the podcast where we read his email. I think he even gave a link to it. And we went and looked at the poster and we said, holy shit, this sounds good. We have to do this. But he said he went and saw it and he was drawn in by the commercials. He says he paid to see it. He was one of the few because this made $22 million. So yeah, it was a success. It made some money, but this was not a big hit. Going back now, sad to say I know why, but I'm glad we watched it because we always need some more Lou Diamond Phillips in our life.
I think that $22 million went to the opening credits alone. That pentagram, chilling.
Whew.
I mean, really pioneering digital effects for 1990.
I will say, there was some good stunt work. I did appreciate the effort of the stunt personnel.
A lot of leaping.
A lot of kicking.
I've always really liked Lou Diamond Phillips in movies, and I started to make a list of God, he's so good in La Bamba and Young Guns. And then I ran out of Lou Diamond Phillips movies. And I can't say that I've ever watched a film just because he was in it. So I don't mind him being in a movie. I've watched movies that I liked him in, but I've never said, oh shit, Lou Diamond Phillips, I got to go see that. That's must-watch film. That's a treatment I reserve for a Brad Pitt or an Anthony Hopkins. So this one didn't really break through to me. I was about 10 when the first Power hit theater. So maybe Omar would have taken me to it, but nobody was about to. I was much more interested in 1990 in seeing something like Total Recall or Dick Tracy.
But I have to wonder, like I just said, hey, you could always use more Lou Diamond Phillips. Why is he such a big star? Why, when we hear his name, do we think, ooh, these great things? I remember his films. His total box office, Gene, as an actor, lead, supporting, cameo, $197 million total for his career. That's not even like opening weekend of a Marvel movie. Why do we talk about him like he is Samuel Jackson? Why do we talk about him like he is this big star?
I mean, you might have touched on it right there. Samuel L. Jackson. I think Lou Diamond Phillips. It's just it's marketing, man. That name sticks. It sounds bigger than it. Like Louis Gossett Jr., right? Like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, but I think the reason is twofold. Here's my first hypothesis. One is he came out of the chute with a couple acclaimed films, not big hits, but he started out as Richie Valens in La Bamba. Then he did Stand and Deliver. Both were, they garnered some recognition for his acting. Then he followed it up with the Young Guns film. So boom. Today, they're not big hits, but back in the day, 45 million and then another 44 million for two. So he's a bankable star to put in your film. But here's hypothesis two. And I struggle sometimes with confusing actors, actresses. I think you did it once before when we did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when you thought that Lou Diamond Phillips played the escaped convict in the car with Pee-wee. Didn't you do that? Or was that another actor?
No.
You thought I thought we mixed those up. But a lot of people online, I found multiple forums where people confuse the two. So if I asked you, Gene, who was in Miss Congeniality?
I don't remember that movie.
It is
Sandra. Is that
Sandra Bullock?
Sandra
Bullock. Yep, and she is
I don't remember.
That was Benjamin Pratt. Okay, what about Courage Under Fire?
No, I've never seen that movie. I don't know.
Oh, you haven't? Okay,
No.
So you won't know any of these. But I'm convinced, people, that the two actors, when you think of them, you combined their two filmographies and their television awards. And that's why people say, wow, Lou Diamond Phillips, man, he was great in The River Wild or Blood In and Blood Out or Demolition Man. No, that wasn't him, people. He wasn't in Despicable Me or the voice of Ernesto de la Cruz in Coco. Very different actors, but combined, they have one hell of a career.
All right. While I figure out the difference between Lou Diamond Phillips and Benjamin Pratt and Jimmy Smits, let's hit the trailer.
Since the beginning of time, Satan has worked to create the perfect killer. One who kills many without reason. One who cannot be stopped. Today, that man exists. Be warned.
We're just going to go through a very small door here.
Lou Diamond Phillips is hunting a man who kills for the sake of killing. Tracy Griffith might be the only one who can help stop him.
I know where he's going next.
But this location fits the pentagram pattern on the map, and my informant says this is where he's going to strike next.
This is the third time in less than 5 years that Logan has been responsible for the death or capture of a serial killer.
See you around, buddy boy.
I doubt it.
Each death makes him stronger.
How did you know where he was going next?
I opened myself up to him. You might have executed his body, but his spirit has been released.
He has the third power. He could be anywhere.
How's the stomach, buddy boy?
He has the second power.
Hi, cutie.
He could be anyone.
Sister.
Oh, I'm afraid she's not here.
Now, he has the first power.
See you around, buddy boy.
Immortality.
You don't have any idea of what you'll be facing.
You can't go on killing forever.
You want to bet?
The first power.
Detective Russell Logan is hunting the Pentagram Killer and receives an anonymous phone call pinpointing the location of the killer's next attack. if Logan promises that the killer will not die. During a police stakeout of the location, the killer abducts a policewoman named Carmen, no last name. Logan and his partner Franklin rush to the scene and stop the murderer before he can kill her.
So we're introduced to the characters, and I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be a serious, like, police procedural. Are we going to see some good police work with some mixed in supernatural elements, thinking like Seventh Sign, or maybe the police work and investigating of like Silence of the Lambs because it's the 90s? A little bit different. We meet Russell Logan, Lou Diamond Phillips. He's the detective, and you don't know what's going on, but he's either in the middle of some big case or he's having a manic episode. He's got the map out. He's connecting dots. He's got evidence all over the walls. He's having some kind of frantic connecting the dot moment. So it's hard to tell, is he unstable or is he just like a bad cop? Because he's doing every cop trope out there. He's dropping lines like, hey, you know what? You know what your problem is, Ollie? It's all that mumbo jumbo occult bullshit. You got spooked. He's talking shit to his supervisors. He's coming out like CSI and David Caruso. He's flipping the trench coat dramatically. He's got his sunglasses down low just so he can look and go, yeah, and push him up. And then I'm shocked to learn he is the big serial killer, like Hunter. In the last 5 years, he's caught 3 of them. And why then are all of his peers and people around town giving him shit, like thinking this stakeout is a waste of time? You should just say, shut up. I'm the serial killer Hunter. I've done this. Shut up.
Yeah, I owe Mel Gibson an apology for anything I said about his performance in Lethal Weapon, right? We talk about the loose cannon cop, right? The loose cannon detective.
Yeah.
Compared to this, Mel Gibson did an expert job of playing loose cannon detective. Lou Diamond Phillips is trying so hard to be a rebel with the smoking, and sometimes he doesn't wear a tie, and sometimes he wears a tie but it's loose and kind of sideways. Yeah. At one point, Big D, he's walking down the hallway at the police station. He fucking just slams into another cop. He's just like, huh, because I'm such a badass.
You know, he's not conventional. My methods aren't traditional. Oh, yeah, this is what I got to do. But he's fucking mad. And the smoking. We'll get into his handling of firearms, his handling of a cigarette. I was like, this man does not smoke. He puts it in his mouth. I don't think we see him light it. And then it disappears. He only throws the cigarette once, which his partner looks at him like, Dick, why are you littering? But then he picks it back. I said it. I texted you. It looks like a kid smoking those chewing gum, the ones that used to blow the cigarette, and he would like the sugar would come out like you were smoking. He's not a smoker.
There's a scene where he's got his back to Ollie, Franklin, and he's like smoking the cigarette and he's all just upset. And this entire hallway is just filling up with smoke. And you feel bad for Ollie because he's just got to hang out in all of this shit. He's like, huh. But these two, did you ever play Lucky and Wild as a kid, like at the arcade? If you don't remember it, Lucky and Wild, it was a game where one person drives. So they got a steering wheel in the arcade game, and then they've got a gun it's also attached to the dash of the arcade game, but then there's room for a passenger as well, and he gets a gun too. So it's one guy driving and shooting while the other guy's also handling. If you guys like, this was the times, man. This was the 1990s. They wanted cops who were driving a car, shooting at the same time, named Lucky and Wild. This was Tango and Cash. It's the same shit.
Wait, these were cops?
Lucky and Wild? Yeah. And they had like a hot red, like sports car.
Wow. So they were just dispensing justice.
Yeah. And you can still find it in a couple arcades around the world. And if you know of one, please write in at host@shatpod.com, because I would love to see a photo of anybody playing Lucky and Wild. And if there's one near me, please let me know in Arizona. I would make a pilgrimage to that thing. But this is what they did with cops at the time. This movie just went above and beyond with how ridiculous it was. And if there's one thing I'm grateful for in movies now in 2024, that films do so much better than 30 years ago, it's showing how police move like reasonably tactically and aren't flashy with their guns. Because as you mentioned, Big D, the first power might be the wildest handling of guns I've ever seen. Logan and Franklin, they're waving their guns all around. They keep racking them indiscriminately. They're shooting at things they can't even see. Logan, he's got a holster, but he refuses to use it. He's driving, running, climbing, jumping. Gun is always in his hand.
And his fingers on the trigger.
His fingers on the trigger.
He's running through community events. He's running through a parade, an active parade with children, floats. It's chaotic. He's waving it. There's no muzzle awareness. Aim it at the ground. No, he's head like head level for a child, running around shooting warning shots in the air, and he can't hit shit.
Multiple scenes, he's going into a dark area, whether it's at the park where Carmen is being killed, whether it's at the warehouse where he's chasing Channing, and he's got the gun in one hand and then nothing in the other. The hand is just out there, just kind of awkwardly hanging out. You didn't give him like a radio, maybe a flashlight, maybe steady the firearm with your other hand so you can aim. And I started to think, fuck, is this why Chavez used knives and young guns? They're like, okay, Lou, come here. No guns for you. You're done.
Dude, but again, he handled a weapon in that film. So he knows how to hold a weapon. This is a time before, when you get the consultants in for like John Wick, who are going to teach you how to use a weapon. He knows how to do it, but he's just indiscriminately waving it.
Now, he had rifles, revolvers, and knives in that movie. He never handled a semi-automatic handgun. Maybe that's what's throwing him off. He's like, look at this. You can rack it. Look at this shit.
No, but he can't hit shit. How do you miss that, Gene? How do you... He is... How far away is he when he first encounters...
6 feet tops.
Channing. He's on his back, so he's in a stable firing position. Both hands on the weapon. He's about 5 feet away. He unloads maybe 6-7 rounds, completely misses him.
Also, why is Channing trying to not get shot? Wouldn't that get him to his goal faster? Just let the guy shoot you right in the face.
No, I don't know. I
now
think
you're a spirit.
No, I think there's some other like component to his possession.
Has to be executed.
He has to be executed. It's like the seventh sign. There has to be some form of, punishment that breaks some sacred religious vow that can bring upon this omen. Who knows?
I don't know about that, because then Tess would have said, okay, here's where he's going to be, and you got to kill him. Got to kill him now.
But Gene, the beauty of warfare and what firearms did was it allowed you to kill somebody from a distance. A knife, I have to get up and stab you real close. A sword, a little bit further away. Melee weapons, a little bit further away. Then like maybe spears or bow and arrow. He's got a gun. Why is he running up into, like you said, a dark area, into close quarters, stay back, reload 5 or 6 times, and you can hit him? But instead, the best shot he does all movie, he runs out of bullets and throws the pistol overhand like a boomerang and clocks him square in the head.
I mean, guns are heavy and they do hurt, right? So, you might be better off like hitting somebody with the gun, but throwing it, that'd certainly distract you for a minute.
It's his most effective weapon.
Chavez. And apologies to any murderinos out there, but I've never been into true crime podcasts or shows, so we might make some mistakes during this podcast. Admittedly, my knowledge of serial killers is limited. But Big D, when they started setting up this sting operation for the Pentagram Killer, for people who haven't seen this movie, they basically got one guy, he's playing like a homeless guy in the park covered with like newspapers. They got another guy who's acting like he's making out in his car with like an inflatable sex doll. And then they've got Carmen. And Carmen is walking around with her ass and some jeans, hoping to, catch a glimpse of the killer. Seeing this stakeout set up with the undercover officers everywhere, I thought there is no way the killer is going to strike. I thought that was going to be the point of this, is you can't catch him this way. Because in my view, serial killers, they target their victims, they plan with precision, and they don't just take bait. Turns out that's not true at all. I was wrong on that. There are 3 kinds of serial killers, according to the FBI. There's organized, disorganized, and mixed. And interestingly, a lot of them begin as organized. So the organized, they're planning very carefully. They research their victims. They find a good, space to kill them in, a kill room. And then they know how to get rid of the evidence so that it's never pinned on them. But these organized killers often descend into disorganized, where they'll use improvised weapons. They leave the killing right out in the open. They don't cover up their tracks because either their mental state is declining and they stop figuring things out as clearly, or they just get really cocky and super arrogant. They don't think they're going to get caught. Pentagram Killer, I think, falls into that mixed category where he's like, he wants to get caught and he'll also take bait, but he really wants to make sure it's in a pentagram shape.
But it's strange. Like you said, he wants to die. He has been bestowed. The movie's called The First Power. He has been bestowed powers. So he has some end goal beyond just killing. Usually you could have a religious zealot, someone who believes, and I'm going to somehow open the gateway. I'm going to bring in the devil, bring in the powers into the world. He somehow doesn't seem to want to do that. He almost wears this religious component as the Pentagram Killer. I think he's just a rapist. He's a pervy, weird dude who likes to get the girls. He's like, shh, don't worry. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. What do you say at that point, Gene? Somebody's got you tied down. They're trying to like cut off your silkies, and they're telling you to shh. I can't help you if you're scared. What are you going to do, Gene?
I think what you have to do is throw off the ritual, right? Like find out what it is about the ritual that has to be perfect, and don't allow him to have that. You know, if he's like, don't be afraid, be like, I'm so afraid.
I'm so afraid.
I'm freaking out. Just shit yourself right there.
Oh shit! I think that's a great defense against most things. A sexual assault. If you shit yourself, I highly doubt it's going to continue. Everybody out there, shit yourself.
Pentagram Killer is revealed to be a Satan worshiper named Patrick Channing, who is eager to be executed. Logan breaks his promise to the anonymous caller and gets the death penalty for Channing. Before the execution, Logan ignores yet another call from the mystery woman, pleading with him to prevent the execution. After Channing dies in the gas chamber, Logan begins having visions and hearing Channing's voice. Carmen is found dead with a pentagram carved into her chest, and psychic Tess Seaton reveals to Logan that she was the tipster and explains that execution has turned Channing into a spirit that can possess and act through weak-minded or fragile individuals.
So, Jane, in the beginning, when I talked about how the film opens up, we have Logan. He's sitting in the dark. He's obsessed with the case, and he's getting a call from a beautiful woman who's sitting like in the dark. You can see her red lipstick, and she's feeding him facts about the murder. This is following the opening of the film where we see Sister Marguerite. She is somebody in the church who is now in front of the officials. There's a cardinal, there's a Monsignor, and there's Sister Marguerite, and she's saying, listen, there's a dark force rising. I can feel it. And they're all like, shh, listen, just quiet, stop. Don't talk about it. Just leave. We don't need another controversy. We don't need this on the news. We already have enough bad things going on. Go off and study. Think about what you've been doing. It's logical for me, Gene. I pay attention with these films. I do it for Omar and our listeners. But putting those two events back to back, I'm thinking logically, the whistleblower sitting in the dark is Sister Marguerite. The church has dismissed her. She's now sitting off in the dark. She's feeding information to the police. What are the chances there's two different redheads who were involved in like solving this case? It's not going to have. Why would you put these two characters who are easily, you could combine them? And until the sister reappears at the end, I was convinced. I said, holy shit, Tess is the sister in hiding. She is pretending to be a psychic, and she's living in this big house, fighting it from the shadows. But no, two different people.
I think the movie you're looking for is The Name of the Rose, Big D. But clearly they needed some sex appeal that a nun just couldn't bring to the table, but they still needed access to Jesus Dagger. So Nun's got to bring in Jesus Dagger. Tess has got to bring in the sex appeal. But what I want to know is what you alluded to earlier. Why Tess? She starts the movie. She's talking like a phone sex operator. She's calling. She's like, he's gonna kill again, baby. She's got that silk robe on. She's like looking over the LA skyline. And then Logan, the camera's like behind him. He's sitting on the couch. I'm like, is he rubbing one out? He's like, oh yeah, tell me more. And I'm like, oh, okay, so this is going to have some sexual appeal there. But then they just take Tess and make her progressively less hot. Like by the end of the movie, this woman is running around like ninja shoes and MC Hammer pants with her hair just soaking wet.
But why be so cryptic?
Right.
You're not in front of the person. They're not going to judge you. Say, don't kill him or don't let him be executed. Promise me. Say something crazy like, listen, I know this sounds nutty. I've been feeding you these facts about him. I'm a psychic. If you do this, you will even lie. Say he will be martyred by 50 other followers of this religion. You'll have 50 murders throughout the city in the next couple of days. Give him information instead of being like ridiculously vague.
Tess, call the DA.
Call the press.
Fucking call the DA. Call the press. Yeah. This guy's clearly not listening.
No, you didn't need it to be Sister Marguerite. You could have the psychic who then is a consultant with the church. She then finds the dagger at the end. She knows the information because of her mystic atonement or like how she's attuned to the psychic ways. You could have done, but you're right. In the end, they couldn't have him having the hots and trying to bang a nun. So they had to throw the psychic in there as a replacement, but yeah.
Now, Omar, to show that we are paying attention to this film, to show that we are giving it a fair shake, I do want to talk about something good. You talked about that guy, Jeff Kober. And I would classify The First Power as an unexceptional film, but it does have an exceptional villain in Patrick Channing. This he's a good villain, okay? He's got a catchphrase, buddy boy. He's got like a face that has a sort of Steven Tyler sexuality. Like, it's not pretty, but you kind of want to maybe put your dick around it. He's athletic, he's spooky, and that casting just couldn't be better. Jeff Kober, he keeps taking this movie that is going off the rails. It is showing its ass to everyone, and he steers it back to a respectable attempt at horror. Like, is this a good detective movie? No. Is it an okay horror movie? Yeah, kind of. And it made me almost want to check out The Walking Dead or Sons of Anarchy just to see if he makes those shows watchable.
Yeah, he's got the rugged good looks, but he's also has that nothing behind the eyes.
Right.
You can't tell what's going on. He's cold. He lacks emotion. It reminded me of Schwarzenegger in the first Terminator film. It's as if he's robotic. There's something there, but you don't know what it is. It's unstable. And he's great. And the action scenes that he's in are great. Him running around. I'd already complimented the stunts. The action is pretty good, because here I want to be nice to Omar and say some of the nice things because we always shit on it. But yeah, he made the movie good because he made me uneasy.
Now let's talk about flaws in the plot, because this execution thing, it makes no, like, Channing's plan makes no sense. I know Channing wanted to be executed. That's his plan. But this is the California justice system we're talking about. Okay? California courts, and they are moving fast as lightning. This is extraordinary. Okay. To give us an idea of how much time passes, because they don't tell us, it's not like 6 months later or 5 years later. We see Logan got stabbed in the stomach multiple times. By the way, those stab marks, oddly tight grouping, wrong side of the body, whatever.
Does that qualify as the abdomen, Gene? That was more like the upper pelvic region. That wasn't his stomach. He didn't get gutted. It was more like he might have shaved his pubes with those stab wounds.
But whatever it was, they're fully healed. So we can assume it's been several months since Channing was arrested, if not a year. Okay. So in that time, let's say the fastest route. Okay. There is no trial. He pleads guilty. Okay. And he doesn't challenge at sentencing. So they have the sentencing sessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
That takes place. And then they execute him. And we're assuming this all happens like in the same year. Okay, just for reference, most death row inmates, it's like a decade to end an execution. That's like on the quick side. Tim McVeigh, okay, that was like record time for modern times. That was like 6 years.
Wouldn't you be vindictive if you were the DA, anyone involved? The second you see that he wants to get killed, I would slow it down. Mm-hmm. I would slow it down. I would say, you know what? Maybe we won't. Let's take it easy. Let's because you know that he's feeding off of the cameras and the attention, and he's looking in his eyes. He's whispering, "Thank you. I appreciate what you've done." There's no way I'm giving this guy what he wants. But did anybody, Gene, fall for that fake vision? They're watching the execution, and all of a sudden the hand starts to twitch. Oh, it's just like a chicken without its head. He busts out the glass with a knife and comes at the detectives. And then I knew right away. I'm like, hey, this is a dream. This is a vision. Did anybody fall for that?
I will admit that I thought the gas chamber was oddly large, that the windows were oddly large, that there was a lot of gas, because that's not really what it looks like in a gas chamber, and that I was falling for it until he stood up and punched the window out. That's when I said, okay, this is bullshit. The punching part.
And what I also know from executions, and this is mainly from what we've done in the movies, is normally there's multiple personnel who will drop the cyanide tablets into water. So you don't know which one is the actual cyanide and which ones are just an effect. So that way you don't know that you're the one who pulled the lever or dropped the actual chemical that killed him.
It's such a silly process because, there's tons of people out there that'd be like, yeah, I do that. That's fine.
Yeah, but then it seems like extra cruel. It's the morality of who's that guy.
Yeah.
What do you put that in a job description? Somebody should enjoy snuffing out the flame of life from individuals without guilt or remorse. Like, how do you go out and fill that position?
Well, soon we'll have Optimus bots that can do it for us. Rather than believing that Channing has returned, Logan suspects that Tess was Channing's accomplice. Tess catches Logan and Franklin breaking into her apartment and tells Franklin that she senses he is in great danger. Outside, Franklin is trampled by a horse-drawn carriage. Logan pursues the driver to the top of a tall building where the driver is revealed to be Channing. Channing leaps off the building and lands effortlessly, escaping. Soon after, another of Logan's colleagues is crucified on a bridge with a pentagram carved in his chest.
So people, when we say that Tess, her conversion ratio as a psychic, she's not vague. She's not one of these television, like, I sense that someone's father's here. He needs closure. I sense, did you have someone in your family with the letter E? There's none of that shit. She is spot on, detailed. Every moment, every prediction, she will tell you essentially what's going to happen. Except for the case, hey, these guys are breaking in my house right now. I should probably go home. She doesn't sniff that one out. But everything else, she can figure out what the hell is going on. So she tells Franklin, she gives him this really specific detail. She sees the pentagram. She says, listen, you might die today. I'm taking the day off at that point. This crazy girl, you don't know, there's no reason, take a sick day, go home. Instead, he goes out. So you know it's coming because she's so reliable. And I'm imagining in my head, how is this going to go down? Is he going to get shot? Is there going to be a stabbing? Is he going to be out like in the street and get hit by a car? In my wildest dreams, I could never have imagined the horrible, gruesome, and very public death that befell Franklin. I'm going to assume that 95% of our audience has not seen this film. So if I told them, Gene, that a horse-drawn carriage would trample him to death, then stop, stand over him, rear up on its back legs, and act like he's kneading dough. Like the horse is using both front hooves to pummel this poor man, to poor Franklin's abdominal region, like shattering his ribs. It is like you are kneading a big bag of dough, and this poor man is laying there in the middle of the street, screaming in pain, a bloody mess. And I wish the movie had done more of this. Go over the top. Have fun with it. You have a psychological, supernatural villain. Make him do these super crazy killings. Later on, Gene, the only other time he does it, they're battling in the hallway to chase from this. He rips down a ceiling fan and turns it into a shield/rotary bladed weapon, walks down the hall, and maybe he's powering this fan with psychic, like kinetic energy, because there's nothing plugged in. The movie should have done more of this. Go full-blown crazy. Don't try to stay grounded.
Does Franklin actually die, though?
Are you serious?
No, hear me out. Okay, Carmen, we see her knife wound, boobs are all carved up. We see Matza, he's like crucified, clearly dead. Okay, even Grimes, we see him impaled after he falls to his death with, by the way, how Logan doesn't go to jail for that is beyond me. Oh, we got this cop who's losing his mind. And then there's another cop who was given his assignment, who was given his investigation. We find him dead, impaled. And he's telling us that there was a possession. That's what happened.
Yeah, it sounds suspect.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it's not like these bodies are turning up and he can say it was self-defense. People are watching him kill normal possessed people. He sees Channing, but everyone else sees normal, like civilian.
But to my point, we never see Franklin dead. He's like Larry in Close Encounters. The movie just stopped caring about him.
No, because you didn't need to show it.
What?
He was so clearly dead. He was trampled by a large horse.
But he didn't even do the Hollywood thing where he goes, it was him.
No, because there's no air left in his lungs. His entire chest cavity. His whole chest cavity is a heaping, like it. He might have been wheezing, like a. What are you gonna do? Pan the crowd and see like the kids crying and letting their balloons go in the air as a cotton candy falls onto the floor next to a puddle of blood? This was R. What did you want to get? Like a hard R, maybe like an X?
No, listen, you take an extra 5 minutes. You have Lou Diamond Phillips at the cemetery looking at his grave, play a little Berlin.
It's a small casket, a tiny casket of what's left.
Well, Channing lures Logan into a hotel, but Tess has a psychic premonition and saves him. Together, they escape the killer and visit Sister Marguerite, a nun knowledgeable about the first power, resurrection. but Sister Marguerite turns them away. They then visit Channing's childhood home, where Tess's psychic vision revealed that Channing's grandfather was also his father, having raped his own daughter and then molested Channing. Channing lures the duo into another trap where they appear to kill him, but the body suddenly becomes Police Lieutenant Grimes, whom Channing possessed and was acting through.
So people, did you hear how detailed Tess's psychic ability is? She could identify sexual trauma in multiple layers going back generations. She should be able immediately to tell everyone what's going on, what will happen. And it gets into here the powers that people have, and they're questionable. And I've always been labeled the stickler. Eugene, you like to say that I want people to be taught a lesson, that I think rules are important. And yes, I've complained about Mortal Kombat or the Karate Kid and wanting to know how the format of the tournament, but I'm not asking too much. If you name a movie The First Power, and there's religious and supernatural overtones, the one thing you should do is label the powers. Tell us what the powers are. You've gotten us in there. Okay, so deliver upon that. So in the end, we learn first power, which is the power of resurrection. I don't know why the movie is called this, because he does not have the power of resurrection. Power 2 is the power of knowing the future. To me, it seems like that's Tess's power. Then power 3 is the ability to possess someone. That's what Channing's got. And we learned that a subcategory of that is that Channing, even though he is not resurrected in the human, like living form, he can psychologically play tricks on you. He's like a Loki. He can make you see things, he can make you hear things, but he can't harm you. Only when he possesses someone, and we don't see the mechanism of that, can he harm you. But then they go and throw this whole, like, these rules they put out there into the mix, because there's some fights where he's not possessing anybody, but yet he can inflict pain. They're shooting at him. He seems to take injuries. It's weird. Am I being too much here, or did you also question how the canon and the functionality of these powers work?
Well, the possession part, like you said, I would like to see at least just once how that works, because we find out that somebody has to be like compromised or, weak in some way for him to get in there. But like, show us that. My big question is why no one was talking about the fourth power, Mortal Kombat flip kicks, or the fifth power, that standing long jump out of a church window. Channing makes the movie uninteresting because he's so overpowered. Like, he's able to possess a fucking nun. Okay. Yes, she got stabbed, but this is a person who has spent their entire life basically avoiding all the things that would make a person prone to the devil's influence, right? She's the least likely person to get possessed, but it was just convenient for the plot.
Well, she doesn't follow the rules, Gene.
Oh.
She doesn't follow her superiors, and she questions when she shouldn't. And maybe she's a bit thirsty. Maybe there is something going on there, but whatever. Maybe he can just overpower any in the weakness, because you see that they're fighting, they're back and forth. But Logan, he's hit a dilemma here, Gene. You mentioned that the police watch him kill the police officer who was assigned his cases. Mm-hmm. Right out in front, he kills him, and he's got this terrible dilemma. He knows that it is Channing who is possessing individuals. It could be anyone around the town. It's innocent people. It's a nun. It could be Tess. It could be his coworkers. So Channing's, he's sworn as a police officer to protect and serve, but now he's got only, as far as I can see, a few options. If normal people can be possessed, a child, a neighbor, a loved one, a family member, maybe you could somehow put a trap. You could catch him, imprison him, isolate him so he can't jump to another body. Don't let anyone touch him. Stay away from him. That's option 1. Or option 2, you and Tess go hide out. Get away from the city, go where he can't find you, isolate yourself, because then you're putting a buffer, like an air gap, between spiritual jumping and yourself. Or the crazy act that he goes to. He goes immediately towards, we're going to have to kill everybody. There's no question. Yeah. He goes to the bomb squad guys and gets a couple grenades. He says, we're going to blow everybody up. This is the worst decision. Besides him getting caught, I couldn't kill everybody who came my way.
Hold on. You're sugarcoating this, okay? He doesn't go to the bomb squad guys. He says, I know a guy in the bomb squad who gave me this box of grenades for a rainy day.
Yeah.
What does that say about you that another person knows. He's like, hey, for a rainy day that you might need, Logan, here's a box of grenades and assorted explosives.
And he never shows remorse.
No.
Of any of the people that he kills. When Shannon, like the vision of him disappears and you see it's one of your coworkers. He's not like, oh, what did I do? Marty! He doesn't scream. There's no Riggs. What did I do? He threw his friend off the roof.
He was weak.
Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. You gotta blow the next one up.
In a movie where the devil is supposed to be the big bad here, I think Logan might be a bigger danger to society than the actual devil. Like he assaults Tess, and we're not talking about like verbally assaulting. Like he is physically rough with her. He shakes the shit out of her. He grabs his arm. He scares her a couple times. He abducts her, forces her to get in his car. And remind you, like, Tess is not a suspect in this. She's not a person that's been arrested. She's not a person that ran afoul of the law. This is a law-abiding citizen who contacted him. She was trying to help. He breaks into her home, goes through her computer, goes through her files, goes through her answering machine. He is, as you said, Big D, wildly firing his weapon near crowds. He destroys that one dude's car. He's like, oh, we got to get away from the devil. Let's go. Takes his car, smashes it up, then gives him a business card. He's like, oh, call this guy. He'll take care of it. He's drinking on the job. Like, Logan is dangerous.
Yes, and I love that one of his coworkers calls him out on it. So after the roof incident where he's killed one of his coworkers, he comes back to the car. The other police are there. And now you have Logan's pissed off. He says, where's my witness? And he says, you mean the woman you kidnapped, the one you assaulted, the one you threatened her life, the one who's going to sue us? Yeah, it was nice that he got called on that, but yeah, nobody seems to, stop him. I thought there was going to be a legitimate chance that he was the one who started out and he would possess other people and his visions were going to be something that later on we would see weren't actually happening because he acts like he is the biggest threat, like you said, Gene, to life in all of LA.
Meanwhile, I was thinking the church was behind it. Like that was
they were trying to shut up Sister Marguerite.
That they were the ones actually simulating the possessions because they were a cult themselves or something. I don't know. I was trying to make heads or tails of something. Back at Logan's apartment, Channing possesses a bag lady and kidnaps Tess. Logan again visits Sister Marguerite, who relents and agrees to help. Armed with a crucifix knife, Logan and Marguerite track Channing to a water treatment plant. Logan rescues Tess, killing Channing's bag lady body, but Marguerite is possessed by Channing. Logan stabs Channing with a crucifix dagger just as police arrive and see him stabbing the body of Marguerite. They shoot Logan, then discover that the body is in fact Channing. Later, Tess visits Logan in the hospital where she either has a dream or a psychic premonition of a possessed Logan waking and attacking her.
So throughout the movie, Channing possesses multiple people. It could be anybody. There's no rhyme or reason on how he does it. There's never a situation where it's someone they know other than the police officers he works with. Could be the nun, Sister Marguerite. And without a doubt, Gene, the best and the most fun possession was the bag lady. You see when they're walking into the apartment, it looks like a normal middle-aged, unhoused woman. Once she is possessed, Gene, she is surprisingly athletic. She's spry. She's flying around a second-story window. She's doing flips in the air. She's talking shit. She's having fun. It's unlike any of the other possessions. She's jumping around, like you said. It's a mix of parkour, martial arts, and gymnastics. She's flipping around the room. She's talking shit. She pops up in the back of their car. I don't know how physically she's a bag lady. How did she get in the back of the car? She's making fun of them. She steers them into a head-on collision. It's like the ceiling fan. It's like the other ridiculous moments, the horse stomping. Why didn't they go full-blown crazy possessions? It would have been so much more entertaining.
Did you notice the glass behind Logan right before the bag lady came through the window?
No.
Oh, dude, this is not a thing that I noticed upon rewatched or researched on the internet. But if you go back and watch that scene during bag lady acrobatics, it is a massive pane of clear glass, which, tells you already, it's telegraphing, okay, that glass, something's coming through that window, right? Tessa's got her back to it. You're like, oh shit, here we go. But she moves away. And then Logan takes her place. And the glass clearly changes into like this wavy mess. It's no longer clear glass. It was an odd bit of humor in a movie that was taking itself very seriously. And like you said, Big D, you want these kind of outlandish moments. I also kind of like this like fairly low budget approach. It didn't look clean. It looked silly. And if the movie hadn't taken itself so seriously, it would work.
Oh, it would have been so much more fun. And we didn't need that forced romantic scene. In no world would these people start getting romantic. You've just survived multiple killings. You have this supernatural force. Sitting down and saying, hey, let's make out, let's have sex in front of a big window, that's not the first thing anyone's going to think about.
Yeah, if there's one good thing that came out of the bag lady attack, it's not seeing Tess have sex with Logan, right? Because this guy's been nothing but trouble for her. He keeps leaving her in cars while there's a killer on the loose. And I couldn't tell, did he like seatbelt her in? Was that what's keeping her in the car? Like, hey, you stay here, click. That was supposed to keep, but he's being rude to her. He's talking shit to her at the bar after she's been nothing but helpful, trying to understand him, trying to level with him, trying to bridge that gap and crack that exterior. He questions her career as a professional psychic. And when the movie started to suggest that they were going to bone, I was yelling at Tess, like, get out of there. You're too good for him. Fuck this.
God, after he took her into the home of Channing's mother and went through that entire ordeal, she's got to get away from him. Nothing good is going to... Maybe she stays there out of fear, Gene. She knows I will probably die.
Yeah.
Either way, but she should be able to just get away on her own. She knows what's coming.
Yeah, the safe place isn't with the guy who's hallucinating and hoarding explosives. Maybe, yeah.
No.
Now, like any good horror movie, though, we do have a final fight in this. And if you're watching the final fight of The First Power, you might be wondering why Los Angeles has an underground water park that leads to a giant vat of hydrochloric acid. And the answer is because one of the writers who put this movie together did some research, but was also drinking watered down whiskey at McGuire's and mixed a little fact and fiction. Because yes, Los Angeles obviously has water treatment plants. It's a huge city. And yes, hydrochloric acid can be used in water treatment. So it makes sense that it would be there. But hydrochloric acid is not flammable. It is not combustible. So if a guy is trying to kill you on a railing 100 feet over a vat of hydrochloric acid that has no lid on it for some reason, it's just wide open, right? Terminator style. You can't use a Zippo to burn that guy till he jumps off of you, knock him into the giant open top vat of acid, and then drop the lighter from 100 feet to blow him up. Doesn't work.
No, but this entire sewer scene, I felt like it was it. I thought we were going to find a giant spider.
Like the Goonies.
It made no sense. You have now this mystical weapon, which was badass. Another Gene.
Yeah.
You turn a crucifix with Jesus stuck on it into a weapon of death. And of course, it keeps falling through the crack in the floor. We get, Gene, the stabbing. Again, the police come in. Channing now is stabbing a nun in the chest. The police are like, stop it. What are you doing? They shoot him. He stabs her in the chest. Light comes out. And we have no idea what's happened. You want to know about what happened to poor Franklin. I want to know what happened. Did he go to jail for murdering a nun? Because I think she died.
No, I think the power of the knife, the Jesus dagger, God sword, whatever you want to call it, I think the power of it brought Channing's spirit to inhabit the body and then transformed the body. It was the resurrection. It was the first power. And then that's the body that was left.
Does that mean that Marguerite was sacrificed?
I think so, yeah.
Man, so she got the brunt of it all. In the end, she suffered the most. Mm. Oh, wouldn't it be nice, Gene, if the writers had given us some conclusion?
Something like that.
Something to go home to. Maybe some lesson, maybe some moral.
Okay.
Maybe something.
Where are you, Stephen King? We need you. I was glad they left the door open at least to know, like, was he possessed or was it a bad dream in the end? Like, is Logan now Channing?
I'm surprised we didn't get one of the police officers walking away and being like, see ya, buddy boy.
I think what we're seeing at the end there was just the trauma that is mounted up in Tess. She's damaged for life.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time in the podcast where we give our Shat score for The First Power. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you're a good-looking broad with nice threads. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. So when a guy jumps off a 10-story building, waves at you, and just walks away. Big D, let's start with your wipe score for The First Power.
So, Gene, the beauty of a psychological, supernatural film, there are no rules. You can make anything up that you want. You can make it as super powerful, as thrilling as you want. Don't play it safe. How could you make this film boring and not explain the powers? There's tons of plot holes. We don't get a clear resolution. The characters seem redundant. The action, surprisingly quality. The stunt work was great. The horse actors, Gene, were amazing. The trampling of Franklin was memorable. That's one of my favorite kills in the 400 movies we've done. But this film, I thought coming into it, this was going to be like The Seventh Sign with Demi Moore. No, this is much worse. And if it wasn't for the action and wasn't for the few ridiculous moments, it would have gotten a much worse score and a worse fate. But it's 3.75 wipes. It's pretty bad.
So, Omar, I think you're going to find we're hovering right around your opinion of this film. I'm going to go lower at 4.5 wipes. Jeff Kober, that guy, he did his best, but he could not save this movie from Lou Diamond Phillips and some seriously bad writing and effects. This movie reminds me of a lot of another rogue police film we did that you mentioned, Omar, Blue Thunder. This is the Blue Thunder of religious horror, and it deserves the same fate as Blue Thunder at 4.5 wipes. And with 4.5 wipes for me and 3 3/4 wipes from Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 4.125 wipes for The First Power.
So, Gene, with a score of 4.125, that now sits alone in the 362 spot. It is slightly better than Who's Harry Crumb, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and King Ralph, and slightly worse than Grifters, Mac and Me, and Backdraft.
If I could whistle like Mac and Me, that would be the perfect thing to do. If we could put that in editing, that'd be great.
Yeah. And, people, if you want to go see a similar type of film like this that's fun and wild, go see Shockers. Came out in 1989. It's Wes Craven. It is another, they're going to execute the prisoner, and he somehow starts jumping into the electricity. It's wild. It's fun. This, I kept waiting for something to happen, and it just never did. Maybe if Benjamin Pratt was in it, and they could have teamed up a tag team of Lou Diamond Phillips and Benjamin Pratt, that would have been something.
Well, Omar, you had braced yourself for the score, and we gave it to you with full force. Thank you so much for this commission. Before we close out, I'd like to get to an email or two. So the first email comes from the commissioner of just one of the guys, Peter. And we had asked in the podcast what he meant by this being the only movie who had won Best Picture twice. So Peter wrote in to explain. He said, "Hey guys, I'm listening to the pod and I heard you mention that you reached out and I remain cryptic. I don't want you to think I'm blowing you off. You guys are overthinking the line. It's just an absurd premise that a movie is so good it wins Best Picture, and then the Academy decides to award it Best Picture the following year. To my knowledge, just one of the guys was overlooked in the nomination process. Also, Gene, what the fuck? How have you never even heard of this movie?" And that comes from Peter.
But we weren't the only ones. We had somebody else write in or message us on one of the social medias that said, I think they meant the Shakespeare with Gwyneth Paltrow, Shakespeare in Love. They were like, maybe he meant Shakespeare in Love because that did win an Academy. So we weren't the only ones who read too much into this.
And you just thought it was titties.
They are. That is worth 2 Golden Globes, Jim.
All right. Thank you, Peter, for the commission and the email. Next, we have one from Mark who says, "Hey, Shat team, let me start off by saying how much I love you guys in the show. I found you one day completely by accident on Amazon Music, and you have since become my favorite pod. Thank you very much for all your hard work and great content. I was wondering if you guys have covered Gremlins 2, the new batch. If not, I would be thrilled to commission it. I really enjoyed your Gremlins review, and I believe it was Big D, who is my favorite, who mentioned that he was not a fan of the sequel and had left the theater early. Well, I hope that despite this, you will still be open to covering it. I feel like it would make a highly entertaining episode, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie. All the best, Mark."
Oh, 100%. You would need to do that. It takes place in a high rise. And I just remember the Gremlins in drag. the lipstick gremlins.
Yeah, it was kind of like a mix between Gremlins and Die Hard, right?
Yes, and there was also some evil henchman, a big fat guy, like with a mustache, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doesn't have the same Christmassy feel of the first film, but I think it would be perfect for us.
All right. Sounds like that's a go. Please get in touch with us. Instructions on how to commission are at shatpod.com/support. And we'd love to do Gremlins 2 for you. Big D, what do you have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, to say we're changing gears would be an understatement. We are going from The First Power to a film that is highly acclaimed and well-deserving of being covered. Jamie Graham, a privileged English boy, is living in Shanghai when the Japanese invade and force all foreigners into prison camps. Jamie is captured with an American sailor named Basie, who looks out for him while they are in the camp together. Even though he is separated from his parents in a hostile environment, Jamie maintains his dignity and youthful spirit, providing a beacon of hope, commissioned by Jeff S. And I remember this, Gene, besides the fact that Spielberg directed it, it is a very young child actor named Christian Bale who captures your emotional from the moment he comes on screen, Gene. It's something to behold. And I remember Christian Bale sings a tune in this that at the time made me weep. So we'll see if it has the same effect on me today.
It's always dangerous when you do serious movies in 1987 because they might not feel so serious in 2024. I'm excited for this one. Well, thank you, Jeff, for your commission. Thank you, Omar, for your commission. And thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all that information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever our fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. Big D, can we get an update on the Yanks?
It's not looking pretty, Gene. 7-6, top of the ninth. I can't be upset. You know, the Dodgers have earned it. The Yankees are playing bad defense. It's a sad day, but at least now I'll have more of my time back.
Well, maybe those New York Yankees will have the first power.
We don't know what that. It's not resurrection. I already know the future, so no, it's dark times, and I can't believe it's been 15 years since the Yankees were in the World Series. There was a time I became a fan when I was very young in the early 80s, so I knew the dark times. Then I had the great time, the cornucopia of victories. It seemed like it would happen every year until the Arizona Diamondbacks drove a stake in my heart in 2001.
Sorry about that.
Gonzalez, that little bastard, just killed me. Ever since then, it wasn't the same. And I'm shocked that it was 15 years ago that the Yankees were back there. And what I fear most now isn't this loss. It's that it could be another 15 years until they go back. But whatever. It's only sports. You move on, And as an Arsenal fan, you know the difficulty of being dedicated team that always makes you sad.
I do. Well, if it helps at all, I'm still rooting for you, Big D, and I hope they can pull this one out.
There's no superpower in the world, Gene, that I think is going to save them. It's pretty much settled. I don't think the Yankees have some crucifix sword that they're going to come out with and stab Freddie Freeman in the chest. I think that ship has sailed.
All right, Big D. Well, on behalf of my ever optimistic co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
If God is above us, does it mean up, like flying?
You keep away from the window. You get dressed. You do what your mother tells you. We're leaving in 3 minutes.